Now, Earth Hour is being observed around the globe today. The worldwide movement organized by the World Wildlife Fund aims to encourage people to turn off non-essential lights for an hour on the last Saturday of March in a symbolic commitment to tackle climate change. In Sydney, Australians have already turned off their lights. Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Opera House were plunged into darkness in a show of solidarity. But for the first time in 14 years, Russia has announced that it will not take part in this year's event. The Russian Justice Ministry has accused WWF of carrying out political activity under the guise of protecting the environment. Now, Worldwide Fund for Nature South Africa will be joining the WWF network in 60 minutes of celebration of Earth Day from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. tonight. The hour is used to shine a spotlight on the issues of climate change and nature loss, reaching over 190 countries and territories and millions of people around the globe. WWF South Africa will be marking the hour by asking supporters to pause, reflect, and to celebrate the abundance of nature and what she provides using the hashtag #NatureIsAlwaysOn. For more on this, we are now joined via Zoom by Dr Morné du Plessis. He is the CEO of Worldwide Fund for Nature in South Africa. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Talk to us about the significance of observing Earth Hour.
Yes, as you said in your introduction, the Earth Hour is the biggest grassroots environmental campaign across the world, and 190 different countries, minus one this year, as you mentioned, Russia, participate, and people from those countries come together. Now, usually we expect people to switch off their lights in a symbolic act. Here in South Africa, of course, our lights get switched off for us. And we've turned it on its head by saying that nature is always on. So it's to remind us that we need to reflect on the fact that our food, our water, and our energy comes from nature, and it is always on and ready to serve us.
Now, you obviously mentioned that some countries will not be participating, but what role then do you make, just to encourage people across the globe, particularly as we know we suffer from so many effects of climate change, to partake in such events?
So it's a mass mobilization. It's almost developed a life of its own after it started in 2007 in Australia, where originally only 2 million people participated. We've already, for this year's Earth Hour, and one has to admit that it comes in waves. Some years a stronger participation than others. But this year we're almost looking at 500 million people who have signed up and made a pledge for nature across the world. So here in South Africa tonight, if people want to tune in to the WWF YouTube channel, there will be somebody who takes people through a process of mindfulness and awareness of nature in a quiet meditation. And this is really to switch the lights on in our heads of the deep importance that nature not only looks after us, but we need to start really looking after nature.
The realities in South Africa, of course, is that most people will also be experiencing load shedding during that time. But just zoning in on South Africa, a lot of people want to know just some of the practical ways in which they can make an impact. Currently, as I said, we are suffering from the effects of climate change, drought in many areas, and flooding, leading to devastation that we've seen in some areas in South Africa. As we reflect tonight, how should we move ahead to preserve nature and Earth and her needs to avert climate change? Just the practical steps therein.
Yes, so of course, climate change is a very important component of Earth Hour. There's also the very important component of looking after the natural systems, the catchments that catch the water and deliver it to us, to look after those. So it's basically to look after the cow that gives us the milk. In this sense, we ask that people, when they sit down at a table this evening, and every meal that they have, is to remind themselves that of all of the vegetable and fruit matter that they're eating, every single one of those products, and that's often 70 to 80% or more of our plates, depends deeply on nature doing its business. That's where little insects fly around between plants to move pollen in order to create that fruit, that nut, or that plant to procreate. So we don't often think about these things, but this kind of work that nature does for us happens all the time. With water, of course, we understand that river systems supply us with the water that we drink, that sustains our economy. And we also need to, of course, in a very practical way, even if there's rain today, we need to deal with water sparingly and make sure that there's also water to go around for everyone else.
Dr. du Plessis, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really do appreciate it. Dr. Morné du Plessis, the CEO of Worldwide Fund for Nature in South Africa. You're all encouraged then at 8:30 p.m. tonight to 9:30 p.m. to observe that 60 minutes for Earth Day.